Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today, we're going to be talking about our top 24 linebacker rankings with tiers. Joe and I are prepared. We have our own separate rankings to share with you. If you haven't yet, go ahead and check out our other videos. We've done defensive tackles and defensive ends. And we're looking forward to talking linebackers today.
Hike!
So we got this breaking out into 5 tiers. If you haven't watched any of our tier videos, we've done all the position groups. So, Joe, who do you have in tier number 5?
In tier 5 at number 24, I have Ivan Pace. 23, Jordan Brooks. 22, Azeez Al-Shaair. And 21, Devin White.
That's fantastic. There's a couple things I don't even have in my top 24. Oh, boy. All right, so for 24, I've got Bobby Wagner. 23, Logan Wilson. 22, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. 21, Christian Harris. And then 20, Tremaine Edmonds. Let me just say that you and I are drastically different when it comes to Devin White and Jordan Brooks. We are light years away. So I'll be very interested to hear why you had. I mean, Devin White, I get a little bit more because he had such a down year. And both of them are free agents. So does that make you feel a certain way?
Well, definitely Devin White. It made me feel a certain type of way. And just the kind of perception that he's getting around the league and people saying, like, I always thought of him at this elite linebacker. He had the fantasy numbers to build it up until last year. Now you kind of get the rumor mill that is he that great of a linebacker? What team is he going to go to and how is he going to fit in that role on a new team? That's definitely why I have him so low. I mean, he's a young linebacker who's performed really well. I wanted to put him higher, but I feel like there's just some younger guys that I put in another tier that kind of took over.
What about Jordan Brooks? What's the thought on that one?
I struggled to really just put him higher. I knew I wanted him in my top 24. But I'm also concerned about if the Seattle Seahawks bring back Bobby Wagner, because to me that significantly impacted his point total last year. I feel like if both of them are going to be in Seattle, I feel like Bobby Wagner overtook Jordan Brooks' points because he had been scoring high. Then last year was pretty disappointing.
I mean, Jordan Brooks is 26 years old. He was in our league, linebacker 25 this past season, linebacker 11, linebacker 2, and then linebacker 76. So, yes, for that time, Bobby Wagner only left for a year, right, to the Rams? He was only gone for 1 year.
Correct, yeah.
So, he was a linebacker 2 with Bobby Wagner at one point.
Okay, that's a fair point. But that's a fair point. But yeah, he's 26. I don't know. To me, there was other.
He has injury history, so that's a knock on him. And I think PFF is not. He's not their favorite. I think I want to say like he gets gashed in coverage, if I'm not mistaken. So. He's got blemishes. There's no doubt about it. I just think that he's just been too good. But I'm glad you have him in your top 24. Otherwise, I think that would be pretty rough.
Yeah, he's in the top 24. Ultimately, there's some 23, 24-year-olds that I have higher. That's all.
Wow, I'm so interested in that. I don't have Ivan Pace in my top 24. I get the hype, but. And he was an undrafted guy. There's no real investment in him. I think they could easily put somebody else as a stopgap instead of him. But I understand he's younger. This is Dynasty. Do you have some of the other guys that I have? So for the 5 guys I mentioned, you don't even have in this tier.
I believe I got all of them.
Okay, all right. So you guys just had okay. So I guess I'll talk about.
I've got all of those guys.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was very close to putting Azeez Al-Shaair in here. He was a very tough one for me, and I'll show my cards here. And Levante David was a tough one for me because David's been a stud. He's a future Hall of Famer, but he's 34 years old. He's a free agent. What's going to happen to him? Same thing with Bobby Wagner. I had the hardest time to where to put him. I mean, he guy's an absolute stud. I mean, he is an unbelievable player. In our league, he's been linebacker 2, 8, 4, and 6. I mean, he's incredible. And linebackers can play late in their career. So I would have put him way higher, but he's a free agent. Where's he going to go? And
it's interesting. The linebackers can play late in their career, but then also we've seen this new thing where these young linebackers are just their careers are getting cut off early, and you're kind of seeing that as well. So it's almost a double-edged sword. That's what really struggled with me is this guy going to be like a Bobby Wagner and play into his mid-30s, or are they going to be like the next Miles Jacks or
Blake Martinez
Shaq of the world, Blake Martinez, exactly, where all of a sudden they're elite, or just really solid production, and all of a sudden they fall off and the team doesn't believe in them. But I don't have Levante David. I don't have him on my top 24.
Interesting. You like him too.
I like him. I just really struggled with his age and the fact that he's a free agent and how much longer is he going to be fantasy relevant. And ultimately, I like some of these younger guys better.
At the end of the day, it's very interesting. I mean, you've got a lot of free agents: Jordan Brooks, Aziz Al-Shaair, Devin White. All these guys are free agents. There's a lot of Levante David we're just talking about. So, this linebacker core is going to change, I think, quite drastically.
Yeah, and that's honestly the free agent situation at this position has specifically made it tough for these rankings.
Oh, absolutely. So who do you got in tier number 4?
In tier 4 at 20, I've got Bobby Wagner, 19, Tremaine Edmonds, 18, Logan Wilson, and 17, Alex Singleton.
Okay. At number 19, I've got Frankie Louvu, 18, Quincy Williams, 17, Alex Singleton, 16, CJ Mosley, and then 15, Jack Campbell. So we've got some similarities here. So you have Wagner and Tremaine Edmonds a little bit higher. I wanted to put Edmonds higher, but to me, he's kind of a fraud. He's got the potential. He's got the age, but guys just kind of like, he's just there. I mean, in our league, he's been linebacker 27, 41, 33, 26. Talk about mediocrity.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I just, like you mentioned, he's just so young and it's just so tantalizing to.
Oh, he is. Absolutely. His potential's off the charts. There's no question about it. He's an athletic freak, but.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you've got him at 20. I've got him at 19. There's really not much difference there.
No. Yeah, we just have him in a different tier. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I just think there's still room for him. I mean, in our league, he almost averaged 18 points per game. Top tier guys average over 20 points per game. So maybe he does a little bit more. It's tough because he had a lot of good production and like coverage, but he doesn't give you that tackle floor that most other linebackers do. And I think that's the difference.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. So you said you got a lot of younger guys. So you got Jack Campbell.
Jack Campbell, I don't have on the list.
What on earth are you doing, Joe? How does he not? You said you've got younger guys. How do you not have Jack Campbell on the list?
I just am concerned with the other kind of guys they have.
Alex Anzalone? He's going to be gone.
I mean, he could be, but he could also still be there. I mean, he's been a staple. They even still like to bring in and mix in Malcolm Rodriguez, man. So I don't know. And then I was looking at Jack Campbell's stats and didn't have the most intriguing rookie year. Now I know he can expand upon it, and he's a young guy. I don't know. The way things shook out, I couldn't fit him in there. I definitely thought about it. He was a name I considered him.
No, I just don't understand. Okay, the bet is Anzalone a long-term mainstay. He's got 2 years on his contract. I don't think he'll last the 2 years. I think Campbell will step in. But they just put so much investment into that guy.
I know they did, and everyone was saying that, he wasn't a first-round pick. So I don't know. Like, that's been the tough part. I get that they took him in the first round and spent the draft capital, but then that also didn't turn into a lot of playing time in his rookie year. And I know he can grow into that role and get bigger in it, but just some concern off the bat that, Alex Anzalone potentially is there for another couple of years, and they just didn't right away give the job to Campbell right away.
Yeah. I mean, linebackers can take some time though. They don't automatically just get that job right away. As far as Singleton goes, you and I are on the same page here. The guy's a tackling machine. I don't think he's all that great in real life, but he's a tackling machine.
Yeah, I mean he's aged 30, but it was just, I mean, back-to-back years of really high tackle numbers. I think like in the 160s. So
yeah, 4, 12, 15, 18. He's been pretty consistent, to be honest.
yeah. So I mean, it's
just had to happen.
Yeah, we put him in the same spot because I struggled with where to put him just because he's a 30-year-old linebacker, but it's like he's been so consistent in tackling machine. Got to have him in here.
So do you have Quincy, Louvu, and Mosley?
I don't have Louvu.
Really?
But Quincy Williams.
Because Louvu's a free agent? He's another free agent guy.
So, yeah, he's a free agent, and I was concerned about where he goes, but I just was just curious as to what kind of role he was because, I mean, until guys got hurt and he had a role in Carolina, like this guy just came out of nowhere in a flash in the pan, so I'm just worried he doesn't necessarily
so did
have
Quincy Williams.
Sure, but the Jets, he's going to be with the Jets. The Jets signed him last year. So that gives me confidence with him moving forward. Louvu's a free agent.
But if Saleh isn't the head coach anymore, I'm going to imagine that your confidence in him falls down the tubes.
Sure, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, Saleh's
on the hot seat.
Yeah, he is. But I mean, if Rodgers comes back and plays well in their playoff team, he's not going to go anywhere. So
fair enough. I mean, Louvu did come out of nowhere. I think he's been pretty good, though. He's 27, basically going to be 28. He was linebacker 20 and then linebacker 14 the past 2 years in our league. So I thought he was worth having on here in the back end. But yeah, so you've got Mosley and Williams later on, so we'll have to see where you have them.
Oh, no Mosley.
You don't have Mosley?
I don't have CJ Mosley, no.
Wow. Is that just because you don't he's on your team and you're sick and tired of him? Because he was linebacker 15, 9, and 6, and he's only going to be 32 years old. I mean, this guy's still got some tread on the tires here.
Yeah, I mean he does, but I mean he's up there in age. And he's a guy that's kind of, he's had some injury in his career. Yeah, I don't know. I told you I stuck to there's a lot of 24, 23-year-old linebackers that I like.
My goodness. Well, I know you're going to be doing this offseason. CJ Mosley's going to get cut.
Well, no, I mean, just because he's been scoring up there high and averaging the 20 points per game, but yeah, I don't know. I just ended up going with other guys.
Wow. I will say this about Mosley. I was really surprised that he actually returned to relevance. When he took that year off for COVID, I thought his career was going to be done. When you see a player take a year off like that, it usually does. They can't usually come back and play at a high level. So for what he's been able to do, I thought, it just looked bad. Things with the Jets looked bad. He signed that huge contract, didn't play well right away, then took the year off. I was like, this doesn't look good. But he's really turned things around.
Yeah, he really has.
So heading over to tier number 3, Joe, who do you got?
All right. This is a lot of my the younger guys, Steve, that I think can possibly, transcend and take that next step with this tier 3. So 16, I know you're not going to like this, but I put Troy Anderson in here. 15, I've got Christian Harris. 14, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. 13, Patrick Queen. 12, Terrell Bernard. And at 11, Quay Walker.
Okay. So at number 14, I've got Ernest Jones. 13, Patrick Queen. 12, Devin White. 11, Quay Walker. And 10, Terrell Bernard. So I will admit to you that I had Christian Harris in this tier and then ended up dropping him down to tier 5 because I got nervous because he really hasn't performed yet. And I was wondering if he ever would. I think if he was you're gonna have to see the likes of guys like Denzel Perryman no longer on the roster because he's not getting enough snaps. Christian Harris is in order for him to be like that type of guy moving forward. Same thing with JOK. The Browns do kind of a weird thing with their linebackers. He's not getting a full amount of time, but I think the potential there for both. So I have no problems with you there on having them in this group. I'm with you on Bernard and Walker. I think Walker is a stud. Guy is a really, really good player. Bernard came out of nowhere. I thought about putting Milano in my top 24, but coming off that leg injury, I think he's like 29 years old. Didn't realize how old he was. Bernard's really the guy there. He's the stud. You know, I'll give you an opportunity. I kind of came after you. You can come after me on this. I did not have Troy Anderson in the top 24.
Oh, that didn't surprise me at all.
Well,
I knew you weren't going to have him in
I'm
there.
down on him from the get-go.
Yeah, I know you are, and I mean it's tough. But
I can't stay healthy.
What do you mean? In 2022 he played full 17.
Well,
he just wasn't.
I guess that's my recency bias. But I mean, is he really going to be a fit for Raheem Morris though? I mean, you got a new defensive-minded head coach coming in. I understand Terry Fontenot was the general manager, but the general manager, his job is to find talent based on what the coaching staff is looking for, and ultimately the head coach. So if the head coach has a different vision, I'll use Sean Payton's word, for what the defense is going to look like, Morris is going to be the one to determine that, and I'm not so sure that Anderson is going to be the guy that he wants.
And that's fair, but I think he definitely could be, and I know they have a couple other guys there, you know, Caden Ellis, especially that was there. But Troy Anderson, just in our league, the 2 games he did play, he was averaging, 19.4 fantasy points per game. He already had 19 tackles and a half sack in just those couple of games. So I just think if he's able to stay on the field, he's just shown that he's an elite tackler and really can get it done. I think that this is kind of like where, the ceiling in this possible spot for him if he's able to play a full 17-game season.
Are you worried at all about Queen? Queen's a free agent. I don't think he's coming back to Baltimore. I think Trenton Simpson is going to take over for him. So who knows where Queen's going to go. He's kind of been overrated. He's more of a name, but he had a great season this past year. What's your thoughts on him?
I'm really hoping he's a Denver Bronco, but that aside, just because I think Vance Joseph would use him greatly. You saw how he could impact, the blitzing game when with Mike McDonald in Baltimore, what he could do. He had an increase in sacks and everything like that.
That's Drew Sanders' job, Joe.
No, Drew Sanders, they're going to make him an outside linebacker now. He's not going to be inside. So
he's going to be a pass rusher now.
They did that late in the year, and the Broncos see him more as an edge rusher than they do him playing middle linebacker because he was so lost there. So
that's unfortunate.
But my Bronco fandom aside, Patrick Queen, I believe in him. I like him. He's coming off one of his better years. I agree. He was kind of overrated, and I think even the Ravens felt that, and that's why they did take Trenton Simpson and bring in a Roquan Smith and pay him. But then all of a sudden, Patrick Queen had a good year. Just so happened to be a contract year. We'll see where he goes, but I think as long as he gets opportunity elsewhere, I think he can be a pretty good player.
Yeah, I will say I know you believe, but I know you love Ernest Jones probably because of your bias because you have him on your team.
It's not just that.
It's not.
Well, it's not just because I have him. I mean, the guy's been an absolute stud the last 2 years.
He was linebacker 12 and then linebacker 43. He's going into his final year of his rookie contract, and who knows where he goes after that.
Sure, but I mean, he's at least going to be with the Rams this season. And
sure, I'm with you there, but you don't know where in the future he's going to be.
We don't know where a lot of these guys are going to be in the future.
That's fair. I do think if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and you can roast me for it. But I'm planting my flag here. Devin White is an absolute stud. I wanted to put him higher, but I wanted to take into account a little bit of what happened this past year, and that he had such a bad year at linebacker 47 in our league. But he's 26 years old. The years prior to that, he was linebacker 7, and linebacker 1. I just think this guy, if he goes to the right team, I think, the NFL, it's a weird place. You've got the coaching circles and what have you, and he, there was that whole scuffle that he had with Todd Bowles, and he didn't play or whatever else. And you gotta play by the written rules. There's a lot of things like that. To me, the guy is I believe I had him in my tier 1 prior to all this. He's taking a dip because I have to take into account what people are saying. But he's a guy I am targeting. I mean, I mean, heck, I gave him a huge contract on top of it. But I'm doubling down on it. I mean, if I was in a league, I'd be acquiring him anywhere I could. I really believe in this guy. I really do. I think this was not. I think he'll figure it out. He's just got too much talent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really liked him as a talent, and obviously he's just been very dominant. I don't understand what went so wrong this year for him. And then you see a guy like Levante David, even at his age, he increased all of a sudden his fantasy production and had one of his best years last year. And then Devin White has like his worst. So
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, just
I
really
think
interesting.
it'll benefit him getting out of Tampa though.
It definitely could.
There's no way he's going back unless nobody's interested in him and they sign him to like a low deal. But I just don't see that happening. Somebody will kick the tires on him.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's head over to tier 2, Joe. What do you got?
All right, Steve. And tier 2 at number 10, Quincy Williams. At 9, Fred Warner. 8, Devin Lloyd. 7, Bobby Okereke. 6, Zaire Franklin. And at 5, TJ Edwards.
Okay. At number 9, I've got Jordan Brooks. 8, TJ Edwards. 7, Devin Lloyd. 6, Bobby Okereke. You're gonna have Okereke. Okay. 5, linebacker Zaire Franklin. 4, linebacker Fred Warner, and 3, linebacker Nick Bolton. So as you can see, Joe, I've got quite the tier here. I got 7 guys in here. I felt they all kind of fit in. One name that I had a hard time with, and you have him a lot lower than I do, so I'm curious your thoughts on it. For me, was Fred Warner. He's such a name. You know, people think, oh, Fred Warner. And I actually, honestly, I don't know about you, but when I saw he was only 27 years old, I was kind of surprised. I felt like this guy's been playing for a long time. I thought he was way older than that. I wasn't expecting that. But, you know, in our league, he's a model of consistency, but he's never been really that good. He was linebacker 11, linebacker 18, linebacker 14, linebacker 15. So he's not like this huge stat getter. But I know how good of a player he is, so I know that there isn't going to be this fall off for him. Like we know in the linebacker group it can happen, and he's going to play for a lot longer. So I have confidence where, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if guys like TJ Edwards, Zaire Franklin, Bobby Okereke, like, I don't really know. Like, once their contracts are up, like, it could be over for these guys. So that's the tough part I had. What was your reasoning behind putting Warner where you had him?
Yeah, I think it was just for the fact that you said he's a name, but he's just been the model of consistency kind of around the ranking that I have him, and he just hasn't taken that next step in terms of, you know, stats to get himself in the upper echelon, you know, in the top 5 or so in terms of like number of tackles and things like that. So, you know, he is 27, but I do feel like he was one of those guys I thought about could be a Bobby Wagner type playing into his 30s. I could see that just because, like you said, he's an elite player at 27. And I mean, even though he's 27, he's still out there running around and playing at a high level. But your point's fair though. I mean, I could definitely see, you know, the Zaire Franklins of the world, or even a TJ Edwards, like you mentioned, just kind of going away, you know, but then Fred Warner being a mainstay, just in terms of stats and where he had kind of finished, it was tough for me to put him higher.
So what made you put Quincy Williams? You feel in this group, you feel like he's as good as Devin Lloyd, Bobby Okereke, Franklin, and Edwards?
I mean, it was basically just off of like stats and the scoring in our league, and what he's been able to do. You know, really just this past year he made a major jump. Obviously, averaging 21.3 points a game in our league. You know, climbed up almost 40 tackles or 30 some tackles higher than last year as well. So I just like that trajectory he's on, and I think he can continue to play at that level and take the next step there.
Of this group, who do you think you would say you're the most excited for? Like, who's the guy that if you had to pick, who would you want of this group? I think it's technically 5 would be the easy answer because he's your highest one. But it's TJ Edwards. So I just was curious as to, like, you know, which guy you feel like could make that next step.
Well, it's tough because I feel like these guys are already there.
Yeah.
As far as, averaging in the 20 points and things. But, I think, I think maybe it's, I mean, yeah, it's tough because so I put them all here too because they're all 27.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I put them here. I don't think Zaire Franklin can really go any higher, but maybe there's some. I think the main guy would be maybe it's Devin Lloyd or Quincy Williams in terms of I think there's still some meat left on the bone there for their production and for them to move up the ranks.
Yeah, I'd probably say with Foye Alukalon, he's got his last year of his deal. I think Devin Lloyd could really take that next step forward. I just don't see the Jaguars bringing him back, so that would really allow him to kind of take that next step, I think.
Yeah, I mean, definitely opportunity plays into that, and I think I don't know how much longer CJ Mosley is going to be playing for Quincy Williams either. So
no, I mean that's very true. All right, Joe. So who do you got in tier 1? I got 2 guys, and you've got 4.
Yeah, but I got 4. At number 4, I've got Nick Bolton. At 3, I've got Ernest Jones. And 2, I've got Foyeside Alukalon. And at 1, I've got Roquan Smith.
Oh my goodness. Man, you love Ernest Jones. I can't believe I would totally forgot about him. I was trying to think who is he going to have in his top 4? Okay, so at number 2, I've got Foye Alukalon, and then number 1, I've got Roquan Smith. I think for me, these 2 guys are the guys. I just think. I mean, I almost had Bolton there. I don't. I don't blame you for that one for putting him there. I just feel like these guys are the cream of the crop. I mean, Alukalon, he's been in our league linebacker 1, 1, 1, and 14. I mean, I thought that he would take a step back when he went from Atlanta to Jacksonville. I thought oh boy, this is bad news. Jacksonville Jaguars signing big money free agent. This guy's gonna flop. And boy, was I wrong. He really, and he was a late round draft pick too. So all the writing was on the wall that things were going to be really rough. But he's been great. And then Roquan, he's another one. I thought he was a lot older. I was shocked. I don't know about you. Only 27 years old. In our league, he's been linebacker 10, 4, 3, and 2. So maybe not as good as he was with the Bears as he was with the Ravens. But again, this guy's an absolute stud, Joe. I just think these 2 are just a whole separate tier by themselves.
Yeah, I consider doing that myself. But then I put in a couple of the younger guys up and coming that I feel like could make it to that tier.
So what is it about Nick Bolton and Ernest Jones? I don't disagree about Nick Bolton. Obviously, he had injuries this year. He was linebacker 73 for us. He's 24. Ernest Jones is 24 as well. Yeah. So why did you put both of these guys in your tier 1?
Well, I mean, just because of the tackle potential is pretty high. Last year, Ernest Jones, he had 145 tackles, also had 4.5 sacks, and that was he did miss a couple of games, so that could have been even better had he not missed a couple of games as well. And when you turn in terms of the elite linebackers, as far as our scoring in our league, these guys, are getting consistently, well, Aluakon's kind of in a league of his own there. He
really is.
182, 184, 173, but generally that benchmark is 160s, 170s. And I feel like Ernest Jones can do that. Bolton, his best year, he had 180, so he's already shown that he has that type of tackle potential. So the only thing with Bolton is, are the Chiefs going to be able to bring it, sign him? Because I think he's either an impending free agent or going to be a free agent next year. So I don't know. Free agent
next year. He got one more year left on the deal.
Correct. He's got one more. So I think Ernest Jones is in the same position there. It'll be interesting to see where these guys go, or do these teams retain him? But Ernest Jones and the Rams, for right now, he's the only linebacker there, reliable. And you saw just the jump that he was able to make once Bobby Wagner left back to the Seahawks. And if he can continue to do that and be that 160 type tackle guy, which I think he can be, he deserves to be up there.
Wow. Good for you sticking to your rankings there. I think that's
and
wild.
he had 4.5 sacks, man. I mean, I like that. They blitz him quite a bit.
Fair enough. Well, that's our top 24 linebacker rankings with tiers. Joe and I were prepared to give you our rankings. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We do videos all throughout the off season, so you're not going to want to miss that. We do at least 3 a week. Coming up is the Combine, and we're going to be talking about our Combine reactions. But before we do that, we've got corners and safeties still, and maybe we'll even do some kickers, Joe. You want to take top 24 kicker rankings? You want to do that too?
No, I do not want to do kickers. In fact, I am pro eliminating kickers in your fantasy leagues.
Well, I guess that'll be a different topic for another day. But thank you so much for watching, and until next time.